Yeah, I timed that very poorly. I have a burp stuck in my mouth. Fuck.
This is good. This is good. Just do it. Just do it.
Hold on.
Just do it, pussy. Just fucking blorp all over the fucking thing. Get
It's
that
it's
woolly smell
stuck.
on it.
It's
Oh,
stuck.
it's
This sucks.
stuck? Oh
It's.
no.
I was trying.
Hit yourself
You
in the
could.
stomach as hard as you can.
I felt it. I felt it bubbling a little bit before, and as the intro was going, I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like,
Hold
oh
on,
no,
I'll
it won't come out.
carbonate. That'll solve my burp.
That's actually what I'm about to do right now.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
gonna carbonate, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also gonna carbonate.
The sparkling water will do it. I
Hey,
just.
Wooly, you worked in video game stuff, right? And you ostensibly talk about video games now and then.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Hey, what the is an indie game? I've been thinking about this for weeks, man, and I'm just gonna no, I want to have this discussion.
Spiritually, or yeah, okay. An indie game is a game that has 8-bit music and looks like an old Nintendo game.
Dude, this is like so I mentioned this because Dave the Diver is up
Of
for
course. A TGA.
best indie at the TGAs, despite the fact that it's a fucking Nexon game, which is the largest publisher of video games, one of the biggest in the world. It's definitely the biggest in Korea. And Jeff Keighley put out a statement today going, well, it was made by a small team, so it's indie. And it's just like, and I was thinking about it. I was like, the whole word is so stupid bullshit. It's
Well,
from the 90s.
Excuse me. There it is. Got it out. All right.
Oh, fucking great. Let's go.
The entire video game thing sucks at language, at words, at brackets, at genres, because all of our categorizations are just things that people kind of started saying one day that caught on. And I feel like EGM Game Pro and gaming magazines of the early years started a lot of them with their
Yeah, they did.
categories
They
in the
did.
magazines. But like none of those actual, like a bunch of them just, as we always say, like action adventure, hack and slash, what, like none of these things actually mean things. And so you just kind of like go, all right, even and to the point where I've obviously talked about like fighting games with this, but like it's just, where does the broad definition start and where does it end? You know, with indie games, if a large publisher spends a small amount of money on a game, does that then make it indie because of the budget? It's there's so many different vectors of attack here, and it's all just like it's whatever we kind of spiritually feel like is a small thing. Like a
So,
mom and
like-
pop shop. What stretches the definition of a mom and pop shop if a mom and pop starts expanding, gets multiple chains out, and
Like Wooly, so this will hit Wooly pretty hard, but it won't do much for most of you. Is Shea Cora a mom and pop breakfast place?
I
'Cause
mean-
it got started by old Grandma Cora in Quebec, but there's
Sure.
like 15 locations.
yeah, like it might at one point perhaps, but where does that fuzzy line, transition into like it's no longer that? Because yeah, absolutely, there's a ton of shit like that where like this local business gets really booming, and then they start
So
opening more.
Before more complaining happens, I would like to go through the traditional definition of what an independent game was in games, and it was derived from independent film. An independent film is a film that is being made outside of the major studios. In games, an independent game was a game that was self-published or did not need to go through a larger publisher, because it used to be back when you had to get carts and CDs out. You went, that's a huge upfront cost, and okay, we're going to make our game, but we're going to need Activision or EA or Nintendo or somebody to take the hit, and then they'll probably own our game and the IP and all the rights to it, right? But now we live in the internet. We live in the internet world. Like fucking if you follow that definition of an independent game, Fortnite and Baldur's Gate coming in this year for best indie game.
So here's the problem. So self-publishing is a definition, but obviously there's things that break that on each end. Yeah, Baldur's Gate is technically self-published, right? It also gets further muddied because while PC games would just come out and it's on computer, play it, boot it, whatever. There was the point when we hit the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 eras of there is an actual place you can go for smaller games, and when you'd submit like in QA, when you'd submit your game, you could either submit a full-fledged title or a smaller title, whether that's an XBLA title or an eShop title for Nintendo or a PSN title. Like, these are all a separate category that you actually had to pick and choose for your game. Now, when Ubisoft put out XBLA titles, that's not an indie game, but it's still within the smaller category. And then there's actually XBlig, which was legitimately completely
it's like you had stuff like Castle Crashers, made by a small development studio that was published through Microsoft via the XBLA program, and that's an indie game in the same way that Alan Wake's American Nightmare and fucking Street Fighter 2 are indie games.
So you can't say self-published cannot be the metric that is used, right? None of these, all of these things don't work when you handcuff the term indie to it, unfortunately. I think everyone can look at Braid and be like, oh, there's a little short self-published thing.
Oh man, you gotta drink, what was it? You gotta get drunk and drink that magic potion and it goes backwards.
And then whoop, and then Soulja Boy makes fun of it. But
it makes me really happy that Jonathan Blow is like damaged by that video. Do you know that?
Soulja Boy, I've heard something about this.
Like struck with despair over the idea of people playing Braid and going, "Wow, I'm jumping."
Just you gotta envision every audience when you design your game. You gotta envision the people that are playing it with their 100% focus, and then you gotta envision people in a loud party not giving a fuck. Anyway, the definition of indie, yeah. So when you look at Dave the Diver, I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, that thing looks cool. Look at this fishing and then cool diving and stuff.
I played it on my show.
And I had no idea what the development process was or what the funding was for it. Certainly, I just saw the look of it, and the look is aesthetically something that usually would be indie. So I just assumed it was.
Yeah, and then like I think the director of that game was like, yeah, it looks indie, but I don't think it is because we're owned by Nexon. Like, even there, like, I don't think maybe we belong as an indie game. We need to get rid of that whole category. We need to get the whole thing is stupid.
And even you can't put a budget limiter down either, because games will at some point, if you add extra campaigns, if you build it out, if marketing gets added, that a short mini Prince of Persia title. It might, again, it's still an Ubi game that might be marketed in that way. So it's you can't use really that metric either. Team size can be variable. Obviously, Supergiant has a completely unusual way of developing their games that uses the smallest possible team size and just puts a whole tail end to their development. I don't know, man. If you get rid of it, it's okay, but what's the differentiator?
And then I get to I'm
tiny
searching
games.
for fringe cases, and I'm like, what about a Kickstarter game? That's independent, right? Because it's independently funded. But what about a Kickstarter game like Pillars of Eternity 2, which was kickstarted on Fig, which included investment support, which included the fact that Kickstarter was a interest test so that the real publisher, Paradox Interactive, would give them the remainder of the money to make. So who made
or Shenmue 3, right? Or this is actually news for this week, Pour One Out. But it's not really Pour One Out so much, but I think so. Them's Fighting Herds is they're pretty much stopping their development.
They saw the rollback announcement coming for DBZ, and they're like, "It's time to leave."
It's over. Yeah, no. So, that. But I mean, like they. I think it's just like the further content that they were planning for that, including story mode. They're basically canceling. They can't continue to work on it. But that was a case of an indie game that then went to crowdfunding and then got picked up by a publisher. You know, so there's a transition that occurs when a publisher steps in to fund things. It just gets so messy. These labels get weird.
I was just reminded
awesome
of
game,
another
though.
part of it.
Fucking everyone check that out. It's good shit.
I was just reminded of another part of this discussion, which you would be extremely personally familiar with, Wooly. Hey, this game, because people have said, well, why don't you just change it to team size? Right? How many, like, sub 50 people worked on this game? That counts, right? Sub 25. And then my brain goes, hey, Wooly, how many small games have you not worked on in teams of hundreds with other QA?
This game was made by 8 people, and then one logo scrolls by on the credits, and that one logo is a folder that contains 80. Like, there's 80 names in a little bracket, and it just says Babel. Don't worry about it. It's gone. VMC, Volt. Don't think about it. It's just a little logo. It's like a codec, right? Like yeah, sure, no problem.
Like Ubisoft, I'm sure for Child of Light, there's like a team of like 25 people, and then it says, and with support from the following, and it's a bunch of logos for the Ubisoft farms of 600 fucking people.
You know, it just and then like I said, Supergiant, like when they made Hades, they had the tiniest team rotating over the smallest, in a small group over a long period of time. You know, so they were working on other things, and they had the Hades team that would be like, okay, a couple people here, they're doing their thing, and like that was how they developed it, as opposed to full team, full force. You know, it's even team size as a metric is not really reliable. I don't know what you could really say, but I think this is a problem with video games.
Small games for babies. No,
look.
Can we go like purchase price?
Here's the problem as well.
Under $20?
The other problem with this is that we as human beings need to categorize. We're obsessed with it.
We need to. The Game Awards is going to be a big celebration because people want to put things in the little boxes.
We have to put things in their boxes. It can't not go in a box. It must be there. Genre. You know, yeah, indie games is a vibe, all right? It's a vibe check.
But it's fucking man.
It's a vibe check. If you think about it and you go, yeah, that's an indie game. It's an absolute vibe check, bro. You know, Sifu, that is you fighting it. You know? That's it, man. That's it. It's just.
I think getting mad about categories and nominations is way more fun than celebrating the winners at any award show. I think there's so much here.
What is a video game where you do not play a role? Tetris. You know, like it's stupid. It's stupid.
I just saw someone in chat mentioned, and like, yeah, no, Monster Hunter has been nominated for RPG of the Year every year a Monster Hunter game comes out. Those aren't aren't RPG.
Damage numbers. That's it. Yeah, look, it's always, this is TGA discourse.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's so meaningless. It's so utterly meaningless.
I love it.
Oh God. Well, look, at least this time around, however people feel about it, there will be security to actually stop people from getting up on stage and rushing it, apparently, because 2 to 3 in a row is not enough.
All they need is like 3 like tall, like well-built guys to just be on the periphery, because that weeds out everybody who wants to run up there as a goof.
Okay, but I don't know, Pat. I don't know if you had this. Did you? I don't know if you had the same reaction I did upon reading this news, but I read it and I was kind of like, there goes some content. It's like it's good for the safety of FromSoft and all, but there goes some good bits.
Here's what I thought. I'm like, well, that means we're gonna lose out on random dumb kid running up, but we've increased the chance. So that's gone from 100% to 0% because people, copycat, and every time it happens, it's more likely to happen. But we've now increased the chance above 0% of a fracas, of a tumble,
a tussle, a little tussle off camera,
of a row occurring on the steps to walk up.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. And you're gonna have to get your camera team to be more on point for cutting away from the right angles and just a little bit of what's going on over there? Yeah. That's true. I just kind of like, you hear that it's like it's every, like, you hear that there's the back-to-back fucking stage crashing moments, and then they go, okay, we're increasing security, and yeah, it's I don't know if it's a little bit like that the dolphin in the tuna bit, where it's just like, yeah, it's got no dolphin in it, but like, maybe.
Well, I don't want to have dolphin in my tuna. I don't care if
maybe
it makes me smarter.
Maybe it's a little bit of hockey NHL rules,
we talked about it.
Let a little bit of it go down
here, but it is fairly shocking that they held these huge events with all these known people with literally no precautions of any kind whatsoever.
Yeah.
Isn't that's kind of weird?
And this was the same time that it's also getting up in there in status. So you're having the likes of, fucking Nick Cage showing up backstage, and obviously Keanu Reeves and stuff. It's like they're getting higher and higher profile people with like less and less security.
Like there's definitely people out there that would want to fight Todd Howard. Like, just fight him.
just
right? So, like, the idea that it's impossible that someone would just run up on stage at him and just throw down is ridiculous. Like, it could happen.
If there are some industry figures that might start a Malice in the Palace, there might be an Artest moment of Bobby Kotick walking up stage and someone just hurls a giant Slurpee at him, and then it's going down, Because that motherfucker's not just going to take it and run. Like, I feel like he's jumping into the crowd and it's going down, man.
I would kill to see just a massive brawl.
But maybe Jeff kind of a little bit deep down wants it, because then he can jump in front of Hideo and be like, I'll protect you.
I'm sitting here overwhelmed with like the blood sport fantasy of Jeff holding up a fucking trophy and going, game of the year goes to whoever can take this from me.
It's all possible. The potential is there. The TGAs, it really can go down, Well, anyways, we'll see. We'll see what this means for security. And they're not elaborating because obviously it's security. But
don't elaborate. I want like dudes, like bouncers. Just a couple, right? That's what I think is appropriate, personally.
But then I guess the question is, if anyone like if someone gets up and starts walking to the stage and they do it Will Smith or Kanye style, like, are you, like, if you're a part of the industry, are you allowed? Like if Itagaki is suddenly walking the stage, where some shit's about to go down, and you're like, hold on a minute, you got to get him, right? You got to get him. Yeah, you got a dude like that. You got to shut down the.
He's got a samurai sword, Woolie.
He's got tequila in the other hand. All
God.
right, look.
Okay. We should back up on that because that makes no sense to people that aren't like dialed all the way
It's
in.
like 10,
Wooly and
15
I
years ago.
are laughing about an interview from 15 years ago where some people went to interview Tomonobu Itagaki about Ninja Gaiden, and they showed up and he was visibly drunk on tequila and was just like going, "You guys like samurai swords?"
I believe they opened the door to him holding tequila and a samurai sword. And it was like, do you like katanas? Aren't they the shit? Like, it was, yeah, just straight up waving it around. You're like, that's Mr. Dead or Alive right there.
Right there.
That
No,
and I
that's Ninja Gaiden. The guy who got fired for inappropriately touching the secretaries.
Yes.
That's Mr. Dead or Alive.
But I want to say that was also moments before legendary events where his five most hated games were Tekken 1, Tekken 2, Tekken 3, Tekken 4, and Tekken 5. So,
And if I was allowed a sixth, Tekken 6. Do you remember that? That was the note
Yep,
at the bottom.
yep. It's funny to see like the days of when Ono and Harada would have their old like wrestling kayfabe rivalry, because it's like, nah,
Yeah.
that dude had a real on-site fucking rivalry with Itagaki. Like, they're a bunch of nerd fucking game devs, but they wore shades, so that means they came with Tood.